Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm Jessica Lindl, author of The Career Game Loop. And today, Ellen and Veronica are going to talk to us all about that last step of the core career game loop, how to job craft into your next opportunity. Before we dive in, though, I just want to recap where we've been. We kicked off hearing from James about how you enter that quest stage and accomplish getting over your fears. We then moved in listening to Joy and Farhan, who helped us understand how to break our leveling up into small pieces so we could both fail fast and build our confidence as we learned more quickly. We then heard from Sam about how to hack the grind and actually do that job hunt and get that next job opportunity. And now we've been in that opportunity for a few years and we're really ready to figure out what is next. So Veronica and Ellen are going to break that down for us. Veronica leads our work here at Unity as our information architect, which is, of course, is a job that she crafted herself into from instructional designer. So we're going to hear about her journey there. Ellen leads all of our learning work here at Unity, upskilling millions of Unity creators into new job opportunities, either within the Unity ecosystem or outside of the Unity ecosystem into new jobs. So let's go ahead and dive in. Veronica, I'm going to start with you because in our conversations, you really helped me understand that in sort of the middle of your career, you decided to start being subversive. So help us understand what that means and what journey you went on to really embrace being subversive.
Okay. I never thought of it as being subversive before, but now that you mention it, it was sort of subversive. I think part of the secret is to get everybody around you on board so that you don't seem quite as subversive as you are. But for me, it's about doing the things I like to do, but finding ways to make those line up with the ways you add value for your team, for your company, for whoever. So I started out as an English major in college. And of course, that doesn't give you a lot of directly applicable job skills. My knowledge of Jane Austen is not going to really apply in the workplace, but communication skills, huge. So the common theme for me and my subversity, I suppose, is finding ways to use my communication skills to get where I want to go and to add value wherever I go. And one story, I don't know if I even told you in the book, is that my very first job out of college was at a TV station and they needed someone to run the teleprompter in the studio. And I was the only one with enough writing skills to be able to adjust the script on the fly quickly when there was a problem with the way something was written. So that was one way I was able to leverage my communication skills to get myself into the studio, where as a lowly, right out of college production assistant, I would have never gotten. So for me, it's just always looking for those opportunities and ways to add value.
So Ellen, as you're leading teams and supporting this job crafting, how do you actually encourage Veronica or other members of your team to embrace job crafting into new opportunities and realizing that it's not subversive, they won't be penalized for doing it?
Yeah, I think as a team, I think there's two things, failing forward's a good thing, right? Even if it's something that you don't do well, you're going to learn from it. And I think we all do that inherently just from the team that we are. And I think the other thing is, and we've done this with members of the team, and we're currently doing it right now with someone who's going to sort of take that next step. And, even if it's something you don't love doing or you don't wind up doing in your future, it's going to bring skills to you. You're going to learn, and that's going to help you with wherever you go in your career. No, taking on new things is always going to be a positive because you will learn about yourself, about how to do a role, what roles you don't want to do. I think also just I don't think of it as subversive. I think of it as really just being scrappy, just being super hustle and scrappy and willing to pitch in. When you are like that, you also know you build currency, and when you can sort of say, I can give right now.
So let's make this more practical. Veronica, what was the journey you went through and the context on your team about how you actually went from something as different as an instructional designer into ultimately an information architect?
Well, it was a matter of where are we as a team and what do we need, really. It was, okay, I understand instructional design, but rather than pigeonholing myself as just an instructional designer, what other skills or knowledge do we need as a team in order to do the instructional design work in a larger way? So I happen to have some experience just working with just spreadsheets and databases, nothing earth shattering, but just enough where I love to geek out on that kind of thing. So starting to organize our learning data turned into actually architecting information. And before I knew it, really, as I was geeking out on that data of what are the skills that it takes to be a game designer or to be a Unity developer, before I knew it, other people were calling me an information architect. I wasn't really looking for that, but you find these ways to evolve and to develop a skill as those opportunities come up for a team. So rather for me, it was not pigeonholing myself as an instructional designer and I will only design instruction. It was, what does an instructional design team need in a larger sense that I can help with? And then those opportunities, jump on those opportunities and let them evolve to take you to the next adventure.
So we've learned a little bit about you in the last few minutes, that you were a production assistant on a television news station, you were an instructional designer, you have some database skills, and you wanted to solve a problem, which led you to become an information architect. There's a debate always around, should you be a specialist or a generalist? And it sounds to me like you're a bit of a generalist. So help us understand how you see that as an advantage in the job market today.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the generalist approach. Like I said, I was an English major, so I really started out as a generalist from the very beginning. And as I've said to many people many times, the jobs that were available to me throughout my career didn't even exist when I was in college. So I could not have majored in web design. There was no such thing. I could not have majored in, I might have been able to major in information architecture, but only if I was at a very specialized high tech school, which I was not. So for me, the generalist approach has got to be the way to go because things are changing exponentially faster now, even than they were when I was coming up. So I can only imagine that for younger people today, there's just no way to anticipate the rate of change or the direction that change is going. For example, right now, AI is still taking people somewhat by surprise. So people are job crafting into that. What's going to be the next thing after AI? And those things are just going to keep coming and coming. So to me, the generalist approach and looking for those opportunities as they come along is going to be the way to really craft a long career instead of allowing yourself to get pigeonholed and maybe edged out of future opportunities that you can't anticipate.
So, Ellen, building on that, I know you are often asked for career advice in both the professional work you do, in the volunteer and mentoring work. Help me understand how you encourage in this kind of hyper specialized high school, college track that young people are on. How do you actually encourage them to think about a different track and embrace being a generalist?
Yeah, I think that I don't know if it's an explicit encouragement, but I think that, you know, you're really trying to say to them what interests you. And that usually what interests you is like a spoke that has a lot of things around it that, branch out. And so, you know, you don't have to just do one thing. I don't have to be one thing or do one thing. I have an interest in sort of these areas and I'm going to that's my hub, and now I can create spokes off of it. And I think that's what generalists do. You often find a theme with them. Veronica, it's communication. Me, it is very much teaching and learning. There is a theme, but that theme doesn't have to be linear. And I think that is something I really put on my team, which is why Veronica can do data. I'm like, give it a try. Awesome. I'm terrible at it. And I think that's the other thing, is allowing people that space to try things, even if it doesn't work. That's a spoke that maybe you're not going to go down, but you tried it and now you have a little skill around it. You're not good at it, me with data. So how do I find people that can do that to propel myself forward and have, where do I lack skill and experience? What other generalists can help me? Finding those people that can zig and zag a little bit, I think is super helpful. And they make me look fantastic as a manager. They do.
And I think it's an amazing testament to you as a manager that you're hiring around your weaknesses as well to really build that strong team. So Veronica, there's a lot, Ellen hinted at this, but there's a lot of adaptability that's required in this mindset of job crafting, continuous adaptability. So how have you embraced that throughout your career?
Throughout my career, generally, like I said, just looking for those opportunities. One example right now that comes to mind in my role as an information architect is I'm finding myself having to collaborate and keep track of collaborations all over the company as we architect this information. Never been a project manager. And I like, Ellen, what you said about hub and spokes. Project management has just been one of those spokes that I've not really traveled down because that's just not my thing. I love work that I can just dive into by myself, like instructional design or writing, where it's just me and the content and I can just work on it. So organizing tasks for all different teams and stuff is out of my comfort zone. If I can use this opportunity to get over that discomfort, I know that this is a skill that I can use just more and more in my career. So I try to look at it not just in pursuing the skills that I love to do, like geeking out on data, which I could do all day, or writing some big piece of content that I could get all organized and clear. But now it's a matter of, okay, I may not enjoy this 100%, but I'm going to live with some discomfort and learn a skill that I know I'm going to be able to use again and again.
And you very smartly identified someone within our team who's
Yes.
incredibly strong at this and immediately was like, can you help me? Can you
Right.
show me? Which is a part of that like hustle and that zig and zag and understanding your strengths and weaknesses.
Yeah, building that community around you to help guide you.
Yeah.
So as we've written in the Career Game Loop, journey is really about applying a gaming mindset to your career. So Ellen, how are you seeing that in your day-to-day work at Unity, either with your team or with all of the people that you're upskilling into new opportunities on the Unity platform?
Yeah, I think where we see it on the team and even people learning Unity, I think when as a gamer, whether it's a video game, sports game, board game, there is skill development. And so you don't just say, oh, I learned this. There's practice and development and a desire to get better because you want to reach that goal. And I think that is very inherent in my favorite people that I manage, the people that do the best, have just that desire to evolve, get better. If they reach the goal, they want to go to the next level, right? They're not just stopping like, ah, I got the ring, cool. They're just like, okay, well, what's beyond the ring? What do we got now? And I think learning Unity is very much like that too. It's not an easy software to learn. So it does take practice and time and an ability to be uncomfortable and frustrated, but know that if you continue to put some effort into it, you will break through. And if you don't, again, you go to your community, what we just talked about. You find people that have broken through or do something really, really well. And you're like, I'm just not getting there on my own. That is such a gaming mentality too. I hear my son all the time with his buddies playing games and they're like, did you try this? I just learned how to do that. And they're like totally teaching each other and they don't even know it because they think they're just having fun playing games. So there is this, desire to help each other and in your growth. I think that is a really wonderful gaming mindset.
Veronica, you have, as we've said, job crafted throughout your whole career. We often emphasize in our conversations how you're leveling up in the technical skills or job specific type of skills. But we don't talk a lot about what we call the durable skills. Some people call them soft skills. You've mentioned a few already, like communication and adaptability. What are the durable skills that you've built in addition to those that have guided you through each of these job crafts you've made?
I think that listening, which I don't know if folks value listening as a skill as much as they should. Listening to people when they speak, but also listening and watching for those opportunities to do the things that the team needs that you could do. You could do better or you could do well. I think that's one of the durable skills. Being able to change gears, I think, has also helped a lot. And that's something I've had to work on in particular because I do like getting very focused on a task, but then suddenly I'll be drawn into a meeting where everybody's talking and collaborating and sharing ideas. And sometimes that can be a little jarring mentally to go back and forth and back and forth. But I think that the adaptability you need to be in constant loops. Some of those loops are very small, like within a day, where you're adapting and building skills throughout, and some of those loops are very large, like entire jobs. But being able to change gears, whether it's on the micro or the macro level, really helps with that adaptability.
Really helpful. Not getting too attached, it sounds like.
Yes.
And yeah. Ellen, you, last question for our conversation. You have gone through a lot of experiences yourself where you're moving outside of your comfort zone and job crafting and supporting people who are as well. How do you help somebody who feels like, look, I've already got a full-time job with lots of requirements. How do I actually create the space and capacity to, take that journey again of figuring out what I want to do next and level up? How do I fit that in?
Yeah, it can be hard, but I think, you know, how important is it to you in that time? Like, are you ready to take on something new or craft something new? And if you just if you're not, then maybe put it away for a little bit until you are. But I think you do know when you're sort of phoning it in, right? You've got the job, you know what you're doing. It's not that hard anymore. And I think that is the moment where you really should lean in and maybe start, identifying what else is possible. That going back to the hub and the spoke, like I kind of know my through line in terms of I want to be impactful in helping people learn things. That's kind of been my through line. But, you know, I think I talk about this in the book. Like I love looking at job postings and taking pieces of a job that I'm like, oh, I like that. And I'll make my own job like listing effectively. Like, wouldn't this be a great job? It may not exist, but then I start to know when I am looking at a job posting, maybe when I'm looking that, oh, this is aligning to this fake job that I made. Why is it aligning? Because of these things. I'm ready to stretch in these ways. This is where I want to go. And so it's kind of like a little game I play, but every few years I kind of make up my fake, what would be my fake great next job. And then identifying people that are there as well, like who's in a role that I really think is a great role, or who I think is just doing a really good job, maybe in a different area, but I'm excited when I'm collaborating with them. It could be a colleague, it could be someone from another company, look into what they do more, understand it more, use that community connection to understand their work. I think when a lot of young people come to me to talk about jobs, I'm often telling them to, keep things open. You're going to be fine. But to really kind of think about what brings them. I know it's cliched, right? Like joy, but what do you like doing? And then how do you lean into that and make that a part of what you are going to be doing? There's going to be times you're not going to like what you're doing and you're not going to love your job, but that's okay as long as you're building skills to maybe get to the next one too.
Such great advice. When you reach that point where you're no longer feeling challenged, you feel like you've gotten everything under your belt that you needed to in that next opportunity, just start digging around. Like look at what else is out there, cut together a couple of different job descriptions that you think feel interesting, then look at your network, either who's in your network or who's not, and start doing that those weak ties and reaching out and building those relationships and continuing to learn more, while you then figure out how to go on the next quest.
Yeah. Because I mean, you do it with games, right? When you get to when you truly get to the end of the game, it's boring. I'm not enjoying it. You move on to the next game, you find another community, right? It is very similar.
Thank you both so much, Ellen and Veronica. It was great working with you both on the book and also in this conversation, and excited to continue job crafting into our next opportunities.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.